I think Canada does seem to almost perpetuate its own criminals. It's like we almost give birth to the very things we don't want to have and then complain about it when it doesn't go our way.
Well, exactly. I mean, we all think that we are somehow better than the United States. We look down our noses at the United States. We try and say we cluck our tongues at the United States. But the practical reality is that our society, I would argue, is literally going to hell in a handcart. We were the Vancouver police, again, trying to out the chronic offenders and shed light on the fact that the justice system is doing nothing about them, got shut down less than 72 hours later by the privacy commissioner, because these people are their right to privacy is being offended by the police. I mean,
it's ridiculous.
That just says it all. It just absolutely says it all.
I agree. But I guess when it comes to talking about the world-class city, a lot of people have said that Vancouver's a no-fun city, and we got the 2010 Olympics coming, and like you said, there are weeds growing everywhere, and the roads aren't very kept. One of our viewers in the interactive chat room tonight brought up an interesting point. I'd like to get your response to it, if I could, sir. He said, talking about your part when you wrote about the weeds growing on the highway and the way the roads were not very kept clean. He said, this is an example of blatant hypocrisy in society. On one hand, they don't want the Olympics in Vancouver because the money can be better spent. And then on the other hand, those same people want to waste money pulling weeds out of the medians. What is your thought on that?
Well, I'm not entirely sure what the point of that is. Are they suggesting that I want to waste money pulling weeds out of weeds? No, I'm saying in the same way that you cut your grass in your backyard and you trim the flower beds and that make your home look nice, so should we about our city. We should take pride in our city, and right now I would argue that we are not taking pride in our city. It's fine to stand back on the hill up in Queen Elizabeth Park and look out over the vista and say, isn't that beautiful? Yeah, it is beautiful. But when you get down from the 3,000-foot level and you start looking at the streets and that, it's not so beautiful. There's winos who have soiled themselves and that passed out on the sidewalk. There's the boulevards and that are unkempt. They haven't been kept up for a while. The pavement's breaking down. Everything is overgrown. We are not taking care of our city. And I have a real problem with that if we are inviting the world here in less than a year and a half, if this is the view that we're going to show them.
That's a valid point, because we did ask for those to be here. We are spending a lot of money. I mean, how expensive can it be really to move parked cars off the road and clean up and pull up weeds? That can't be a lot of money. But I think you're saying the difference that it would make is the difference between being a world-class city and not.
Well, again, Vancouverites tend to get into this sort of tongue-clucking, hand-wringing, feeling good about themselves. Aren't we wonderful? Look at how beautiful our piece of the world is. And for the most part, they're right. But the practical reality, in my perspective, is that you cannot continue to say that if you do nothing to keep it up. You can't just simply inhabit that place and think all is wonderful if you do not put anything back into it. And right now, I don't think that we're putting a whole lot back into it.
In that sense, I guess, what is it that you think? That Canada has doing better than the United States in this particular line of discussion?
What do I think we are doing better than the United States?
If anything, yes.
Nothing really. We're fighting alongside the United States in Afghanistan. A point that most of the hand-wringers and tongue-cluckers and whatnot just simply refuse to agree. We've got the likes of Stefan Dion trying to force the government of Canada to fix a date on when they're going to leave Afghanistan. I mean, you might as well say, we've lost. Why are we even there if we are fixing a date, saying this is the end of the game? Well, wars aren't games. There's no end to them until such time as the enemy is defeated. That's the reality. And yet we have all this politics. People just don't seem to want to get their head in the real game that we're fighting. We're fighting organized crime. We're fighting an element of society that doesn't want to play by the rules. Now we're also fighting a worldwide war on a piece of a society that doesn't want us to exist anymore. And that's a reality, and people just don't seem to want to say that that's the case. Where are we better than the States? Well, we're probably better in hockey than they are.
Maybe, at least in the junior division, I suppose. Probably true, but I mean, being better in hockey is certainly not something that we're. I guess in the Olympics that could become important, but I think the average citizen is more concerned with what's going on in their neighborhood, what's going on in their cities, and how safe they feel, and how much pride they can take. And having read your piece and having compared what's going on, you said Calgary and Toronto aren't much better. I've never been to either place. But I was in Las Vegas a couple weeks ago, and it looked pretty nice. I mean, it was Las Vegas, but I mean, it did look pretty good, and jaywalkers were giving a hard time. It just seems to me that there's a fundamental difference in the way the police force and those that are charged with making sure the laws are adhered to, in law enforcement, I guess, there seems to be a fundamental difference between the way they go about achieving results and the way we do it up here. I guess maybe you're right, I hate to say it, but maybe we do need to take a lesson from the Americans in this one stance, which is odd because, we like to think that we're more open with our citizens and we give them more rights, and we're generally just a much more friendly, polite society, but maybe, damn it, we're too polite.
Well, I'm not even sure we do give them most rights. I mean, I don't know if you've been following the case of the sock puppets versus Mark Stein and Maclean's magazine and the three human rights complaints that were brought. I mean, you even think that piece written by Mark Stein could land him in front of human rights tribunals is so offensive. It's welcome to 1984. Orwell only missed by a few years. It is so wrong on every level that these people, these self-imposed, protectors of God knows what, think that they can take someone for uttering an opinion, and even the truth, even if he establishes in defense of himself that everything he wrote was absolutely true, he can still be found guilty by these people. So the truth is no longer even in defense. I mean, that is so offensive on every level.
I agree with you. Okay, well, as a final question to you, Leo, let me ask you the hard question. Based on what you've written and your knowledge, your intricate knowledge of both countries, given what you know and the direction both countries seem to be heading in different ways, given a choice, would you rather live here in Canada or in the United States?
Well, I've never lived in the United States, so I've spent a lot of time there. I have lived in the United Kingdom, and I've lived in Ireland, and I've lived in Canada. I'm not entirely sure I would really want to live anywhere else. Canada, for all its flaws, is a fairly good country. And I guess that's my point. Canada should be a much better country than it actually is.